Okay.
Okay, so here messages pop up from people.
Okay. Daminta,
What do you mean?
are we live?
Yeah, he joined.
Okay.
Say hi.
Okay, so I have to do that.
And send a request.
Then,
Invite the other one also.
do the labor. I can add all together now? One shot.
Yeah, and
Then, another one is manga. Hold on now, how do I add that? Whoa! How do I?
who are you trying to add?
No, so next one I have to add more now?
No, that's later.
Are we on?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Sachin, you're sideways.
Oh, sorry. Let me
Oh,
that.
there we go. Where is...
Just give me 1 second.
Where is Umanga? Umanga.
Sorry about that.
There you go.
Can you see me fine now?
Yeah, I can. But for Umanga,
Yes, we are waiting for her.
did I send her the...
I'm not sure.
I'll send it again. How do I do that? So, right. I think I had not sent her the invite proper. Now I did. There we go. There
Hi.
you are. You could
Sorry, there was a bit of an issue there.
properly. Okay. So, Daminta, can we start? Right. This is the doing this, so I might make mistakes. So you will have to show me when I start. Okay.
It's our first time as well, so.
Yeah, exactly. It's our first time.
let's try to figure this out. Okay. So Sashini and Umanga. Am I pronouncing your name right? Umanga.
Yes, Umanga.
Umanga. Okay. So why we are trying to do this is in celebration of the International Youth Day 2021. Yesterday we were thinking, what should we do? And then we figured, let's talk to some young people, who are sort of decided to take a leap and become entrepreneurs. And then we thought, always it's young men, old men that you get invited. So I thought, no, let's invite some young. So the two of you, and then we have this person, Medini, will join. But I thought I'll speak to the both of you because both of you are in sort of the fashion business, clothing business, and similar kind of things you guys are doing. Do you know each other?
I mean,
No.
obviously, I've seen her on
Yeah,
social
we know
media.
of each other, but this is our first meeting. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So, uh, first of all, once again, well, and the objective is nothing to do with politics. I must have laid out in front of everybody who's watching. It's just to try and understand what's going on, with young people trying to become entrepreneurs. What are the issues? What are your experiences? And also, particularly as women, have you faced sort of obstacles along the way? How the pandemic is impacting the business, if you started before the pandemic or if you started in the pandemic, what you expect. And finally, kind of what's the advice, you want to give to the others, because now perhaps people might join and watch. We only gave them like half an hour, so there may not be too many people online now. But obviously later would watch this. So let me start with Sashini. Um, Now, why? I mean, you're an analyst. You have kind of like a finance kind of background. You pretty your math and computers and things like that. So, Sandy, what made you decide to sort of, try your hand at entrepreneur?
Um, okay, so like you said, my background is in economics and politics, so it's very far from anything to do with fashion. But I think what helped me realize that I wanted to become an entrepreneur was getting that work experience after I graduated, because I dipped my toes in the public sector and a little bit in the private sector. And although I enjoyed it, I do think that it made me realize that it wasn't my absolute calling. And I also think it made me realize that I also enjoy having more autonomy over my decisions, over I wanted to have my own timelines, my own way of doing things. And most importantly, I think autonomy over making the decision on what the values and the ethos of my business would be. I knew that I had a certain vision and I can only bring it to life if I did it myself. So yeah, that really appeals to me with entrepreneurship.
And when do you get started?
So actually, I'm very new. I just launched the debut collection 1.5 weeks ago, but I registered my business, I would say, about 4 months ago, and I started the whole process last December. Yeah.
Okay. So how has it been? It's very short period.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like I did launch right dead center in the middle of the pandemic. So my entire launch was delayed by about 2 months, I would say. Um, but so far it's been good. I mean, even registering the business and things like that, I assumed the process would be very difficult, but there are actually a lot of organizations now that help with things like that. So yeah, I mean, it's been fulfilling, hectic, but fulfilling so far. Yeah.
But as a kid, when growing up, you experienced somebody in your family who's been into business? Have you been exposed to the ups and downs of corporate, um, sort of taking risks?
Yeah, definitely, because my dad is actually an entrepreneur as well, and my mom also runs a business. So they're both entrepreneurs in their own way. So I've definitely grown up around it. And I've also seen the ups and downs firsthand multiple times, even with how the pandemic has affected their businesses as well. So yeah, I think I was exposed to it, which might have made me also want to do my own thing, which is what I'm doing now. So yeah, I was exposed to it.
Okay, so shift to Umanga. I mean, we what Sashini's background is, and perhaps parents being also entrepreneurs may have sort of, given her a sense of, I should try that myself, uh, you thing. But why did you get into this, and when did you start?
Right. So I actually studied fashion and textile design at AOD, and let's just say that I have a fashion background, and it did as soon as I graduated, it wasn't my idea to launch my business, but I do had I did have like an idea of what I wanted to bring into the fashion industry because during the college tour, we were taken to different areas in the country to meet the local artisans. And I was lucky enough to meet the artisans from Urudumbara, hand weaving artisans. And listening to their story, and the moment I witnessed this eco friendly hand weaving technique, it dawned on me that if I were to bring in a fashion label to the industry, this is like one aspect that I would like to, sort of consider since we are a generation who are growing up during a time when the alarming effects of climate change are brought to the forefront, and fashion industry is known to be the second biggest contributor to pollution, and the last thing I wanted to become was a contributor to that. So it was an alternative method to bringing a label to help the community and also the planet in any way I could.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So you had a training in this field, and kind of you were prepared opposed to Sachini, who's kind of brand new into this. And so you time back, is it?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
When did you start to
So
actually
I launched my brand in 2019.
Right. So Udu Dumbara. So this is like Dumbara. Is
Exactly.
it like things like that? Oh,
Harsha, I'm so sorry. I'm not hearing what you're saying. I'm so sorry. I don't know whether it's the connection issues.
Hear me now?
Yeah, it's cracking, but can hear you. I would be able to catch
Okay.
it.
Oops. No, what I was saying is Dumbara man. I saw on your social media page. How do I do that? Hold on a second.
Sure.
Okay, I just connected to my data. I took it off my Wi-Fi. Can you hear me better now?
Much better.
Okay, yeah. Right. No, so you were talking about Dumbara, Ududumbara, and I saw on your social media a person standing in front of a tapestry.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm to Barbara Sansoni, Vikram, those of people who went and to design those things. So did those people have influence on what you're doing, or is it something that you just thought of, look, this is something interesting, I want to bring those people?
Obviously, when I met the weavers, they did tell me how they started it. So this is like a generation-old technique passed from generation to generation. And these are the royal remnants of the Kandyan weavers who used to, weave tapestry to the Kandyan kingdom back in the day. So, this is, I think that was one of my main inspirations. And also what was sad was to see this form of art dying, especially in a local country where we appreciate local handmade products. But since we have sort of moved into a very modernized world, and since we are sort of pushing fast fashion, these primitive techniques are given less attention. So I think it's a combination of a lot of aspects that sort of inspired me to bring in the community to my label and base the story, making them
So,
the bigger part.
yeah, so now when Kudumbara, this and hand over, sort of type of thing, oils, perhaps the hand woven type apparel. Now, have you got any idea as to how to integrate this? Like you said, they have been doing this for a time, but they like, kind of almost unique and very limited quantity. So, do you have some plan to move it beyond just a small niche to a broader international market so that you can link these people to more than just to able to, I would think, would are the uh,
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just a startup, and all the what do you call it, investment to everything is done solely by me. So, but my plan is to, going forward to, like right now, what I'm catering to is the urban Colombo community. But I also signed up with Good Market Global, and now I am approaching an international community which has like which they can approach to me and sort of get connected with the artisans or me as a designer to probably collaborate. So obviously the plan is to take my community to to an international level where our story will be heard and much more appreciated. That is
Sashini,
the long term plan. Yeah.
excellent. Sashini, I'm just looking at your website, right? And
Yeah.
very and it's oh, almost international high quality uh, site.
Thank
So
you.
it's very different. Kind of the earth and over the idea and the brand that Umang wants. Uh, what or do you know? Have you done some market research for to see whether what you're doing would differ from many before? Uh, you see new fashion opening. Lots of young people are to differentiate as opposed to what Kumar said about link to his and woven articles of clothing.
Sorry, Dr. Harsha, you broke up there a couple of times.
Okay.
Could you just repeat the question one more
Yeah.
time?
What I was saying is that I was on your website and it looks
Yeah.
very pretty, very sophisticated. And the kind of the clothing that you portray here seem to be very stylish and sort of upmarket type.
Right.
I'm asked what Umanga talked about, a very traditional,
Yeah.
local, ancient, hand woven thing to a very modern, stylish garment. Now, the question I have is the lots of young setting up stores all over the place.
Yeah.
Just the other saw something come up at Green Path. So I saw something somewhere else. So how do you plan to sort of distinguish your brand, or how is it unique from all these other brands that are coming up everywhere else?
Yeah. So actually, something that I think Umanga and I have in common is that we both want to stray away from the traditional fast fashion way of doing things, and we actually want to adopt a slow fashion movement and a more sustainable and conscious approach to fashion. So I think I've listed on the website as well that we're a consciously produced brand, and by consciously produced, I mean that we should shed awareness and consciousness throughout every part of the supply chain. So from sourcing the fabric to production to packaging, every single part of it is done in a way that also ensure that we also ensure that we have a positive socioeconomic impact as well with the way we do it. So, for example, all the material that we use, we only use biodegradable material. So it's as environmentally friendly as it can get. So I'm only using linen currently. So even linen, when it's produced, it requires much less water than cotton, for example. So we're just looking at every single aspect like that. And then my packaging is also both biodegradable and compostable. And then what I really appreciate the most is the way that we make it, because it took me a really long time actually to find a production partner that had the same values as me. And I'm lucky that in the end I did find another female entrepreneur who shares the same values. So what she's done is she's created like a network of micro businesses that are owned and managed by females. So they're very small scale, and they set their own timelines, they set their own prices, and we just go according to that, as opposed to the traditional method of outsourcing to a factory and mass producing and using polyester fabrics and things like that. So again, that would have been much easier for me, and I would actually probably have much higher profit margins if I was doing that, because my costs would be much lower. But I decided to take this approach because I do think that conscious business is the future, and I do think that there's definitely a demand for sustainable fashion as well, especially with the young people and the Gen Z community. So my goal, even with the website, the reason I knew I wanted to have a website is because I do want to reach an international market eventually. That is my end goal. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I see both of is your sustainability about not polluting. I mean, that's awesome. It's good. And things like otherwise get a profit if I do something else. But even though I'm going to lose my margin, I will do this good for. So that's. I want to move on to the next. Um, what obstacle that called face? I don't mean the pandemic. And has your gender in any way either helped or sort of deterrent? Uh,
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Okay. I think as per gender, I've been lucky enough to, I haven't faced anything yet. So I feel lucky there. But the biggest challenge was to introduce a new concept to people who are set in their ways, and also introducing the concept of slow fashion. Like I said, people are so used. And people are so used to getting their products, fast. But then with slow fashion, our launches come not every month, but then we take a lot of time to go through our design process. So to communicate that to the community.
Can I ask you a question? I don't understand what slow fashion. Both of you use slow fashion. What slow fashion means?
Right. So the slow fashion is an approach to producing clothing which taking consideration of aspects like we aim to respect people, the environment, and the animals, and also spending more time on the design process to ensure that each piece is quality made. And also when it comes to quantities, we don't mass produce. We sort of stick to small quantities, and we also constant work with more ethical production methods.
Got it. So going back to the
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you there.
Uh, what I was asking you earlier, the object that was that experience.
Mm. Shashni, do you want to take it? Because I still didn't hear it.
Yeah, Dr. Harsha, you keep going blank. Like, we just can't hear you sometimes.
Yes,
Oh,
Not sure
right.
what that is.
it's not audible at some times, so it's quite
Oh,
tough.
I don't know. I don't know why that is. I originally had a dialogue, right? I had a dialogue. I was on my dialogue Wi-Fi, and the stupid thing obviously glitched. Then I switched to my dialogue. I repeat, dialogue data. And that is not working. What's wrong? Get me that guy, that CEO of dialogue. I want to call him and tell him.
Yeah, you
This,
should.
But
I
your
think
line
we
is
all
much
have
better
some
now.
things.
We can hear you now. So yeah.
Yeah, much better.
yeah, but I'm going to send it to him. So I was asking Sashini whether, the kind of obstacles that you may have faced or are facing, had gender got anything to do with it?
Again, I would say I'm lucky enough that I haven't experienced something like that so far. But one thing I would say is, just in general, I don't know if it's my gender or if it's my age or if it's the industry, but I have had this issue where I just feel like the label and me, I'm not taken seriously, just because I don't know if people sometimes dismiss fashion. I think we lost Umanga.
Yeah, I'll get her back. Go ahead.
Okay. I think sometimes people dismiss fashion to be something quite frivolous. If I was maybe doing finance or something like you said, it would probably be taken more seriously. So just that, I think just that concept is there in Sri Lanka in general, just when you're trying to pursue entrepreneurship. But other than that, I don't think I've experienced anything to date. But that being said, obviously, I am very new to all of this. So I will get back to you maybe in 5 years' time.
For sure.
Excellent. So you all are sort of excited about it and are willing to face challenges and overcome obstacles. You're young and energetic and looking forward to the future and so on. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Excellent. So my next question is, the horrible pandemic, right? People are not going out. Why? I mean, a lot of people are in boxer shorts and shirt and tie, I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt, but I'm also wearing proper pants. But what I'm saying is, the need to dress up has kind of diminished because people are at home, right? So how is the pandemic then therefore impacting your sort of projections? You probably did some business plan and said, so many outfits per person per month or whatever per quarter they would go and buy, but now that has reduced. People's incomes have come down. They don't have the kind of money to spend. So how is that impacting you, Sashini?
So like you said, I don't have the data to compare pre-pandemic and post-pandemic to see how spending patterns and things like that have changed. But I do think I'm around people who also own clothing lines, and I've seen that the demand still exists. People are still buying because I think people still have the idea of normalcy is just around the corner. It's going to come back to normal at some point. So at some point they will need it. And so I feel like personally, people have been buying and they want to buy. But another thing with slow fashion that, like she was saying, what I would like to point out is that what we're creating is not an item that you just wear once and then you throw away, where we want you to buy something that you can keep for years to come. And linen, for example, is highly durable. You can keep it for like 50 years if you take care of it properly. So what I am trying to say is, buy something that will definitely last, that you can wear years from now, not just in this current climate. So, yeah.
So you have a convincing argument, by now for 50 years, but I don't know of any would, I mean, forget the body shapes might change
Yeah.
but I want to link it to Umanga, because what she's talking about is buy something, and slow fashion, from what I'm understanding, is, look, it is more than what it looks like perhaps, but also what is inside, what goes in, what are the ethics behind it, who is making it, is it environmentally friendly. So maybe changes all the time, but perhaps what you're trying to sell is more than just fashion, but something beyond that, something holistic. And when you say 50 years, no, Dumbara, Barbara Sansoni started, this kind of thing long before you guys were born. And people still, wear Barbara Sansoni. I don't know whether, I'm right in thinking Barbara Sansoni with Dumbara, but what I'm saying is these are kinds of fashion labels that have gone through generations, with sort of minor changes, Your parents were probably Sansoni. Your kids probably might also wear Sansoni. So I'm to link that and see whether the pandemic is just a blip, or how that will impact your business the way you are looking at it.
Right. So, Harsha, I would like to, Dr. Harsha, I would like to say that the pandemic, at the beginning of the pandemic, it was quite challenging for me in particular, because I always travel to Ududumbara to get my weaving done. And with provincial lockdowns, with travel restrictions, and we also wanted to stay home to sort of slow down the, the growth of community spread. So my production was on pause for for the last 2 months, but now I'm back on. But then again, I use communication as a tool to make sure that my followers and my community were aware of what we are going through as a brand, because I have always respected people who treat a brand as not just a service, but they also see the humans behind the particular label. So so through communication tools, I showed them, this is the struggles that we are going through, and please bear with us. And even if we are slow with us, services, and if we are slow with our launches, please stay with us, because we are working, we are coming up with new strategies. And so, after the second lockdown, I did actually a launch, and I did few super exclusive cami tops and some lounge pants. And to support what Shashini said, people are buying because probably because they, respect our brand approach, and everything we sell is something more than a piece of textile or a piece of, a fabric. It's the story that we are trying to sort of give through the brand. So I think with that approach, people want to still support you, but also having said that, the young generations, they also support purchasing, because on social media they are coming up with creative content. So in order to make themselves look presentable, they have to dress up. So I think with social media growth, TikTok is actually the biggest social media platform that's growing at the moment. So with all that creative content, I feel like people are, still purchasing, just to, make sure that people don't give up on life. You still want to, dress up, look good. I know there's the pandemic is hectic. There are millions of people struggling and, suffocating across the world. But I think to stay optimistic and resilient, people want to still, continue with their normal practices of life.
I want to sort of, before I go to the last, I really appreciate what you are saying. both of you, that, you know, it is more than just a piece of clothing. It's more than a dress. It's more than a skirt or top. It has a story, people behind it. Now, is that just a cliche? Are a lot of people just say that? And how would one honestly differentiate, you know, from people who pretend to be doing that, but really, you know, they don't that's side about any of what that is, right? They just put it on the label, you know. I care about the environment. I care about the people who are behind it. So, how do honest people like yourself are really doing it, get this word out, and are able to sort of succeed?
I think to be 100% transparent with your, I'm sorry, did I cut you
No,
off, Harsha?
go ahead. Go ahead. I'll go after.
I'm sorry, I didn't see. Right. I think to be 100% transparent with your brand communication, like I said before, I mean, if you follow my social media, Dr. Harsha, you would see like my videos of, you know, the artisans' voice clips to behind the production processes. So, you know, like I'm not just mentioning it on my tag saying that this is, you know, ethically produced, this is just handcrafted. People have to see to believe it. So I make sure that I create these video content of my artisans weaving the fabric, and also how the handloom is, you know, just hand, you know, it's just, you know, it's operated by hand. So you don't need any electric. So these are like few stuff that I sort of communicate to convince people I'm not just greenwashing. I'm actually, you know, following these steps, which is why I'm not afraid to call my brand an ethical brand.
Excellent. Sashini?
Yeah, and Dr. Harsha, what you just spoke about, there's a term for it actually. It's called greenwashing, and we do see it happening everywhere currently, especially with large corporations like H&M, Zara. They all of a sudden come out with a sustainable line, and then they just promote all these values of sustainability, even though that's not what they adhere to in any way. That being said, I think one of the advantages of being a small-scale brand is, like Umanga said, we have the opportunity to, through our Instagram, again, social media has definitely been very helpful in this, communicating to our followers exactly how the process is and having 100% transparency, like she said. So even me, I've made sure I've uploaded pictures of the makers, of even the people who are making my bags, and every single thing is just shown step by step. I actually launched the social media page about 3-4 months before the collection, just because I had so much that I wanted to articulate to everyone just about what this brand means, what the supply chain entire process is from A to Z. I just made sure to communicate it all. And I know that I will continue to do so and definitely utilize social media as a platform to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, from what I mean, those days when somebody wanted to start a business, advertising was very expensive. You know, to run a TV ad or put something on the newspapers would cost hundreds of thousands of rupees. And it was not affordable. So people stayed out because marketing was just not, right? So today, none of you are talking about newspaper advertisements, TV spots. You're saying social media. You're saying Instagram. You're saying TikTok. And obviously, that whole transition, you know, has made it easier for young people like you to chase your dreams, right? Because what you know is in here, you know, whether you bring it from sort of being around entrepreneurs all your life, or you, you know, having sort of trained to become a fashion design person, you know, that is what you bring to the table. That's your skill. That's your, you know, what you want to build. So, how important? I think that's a stupid question. That's not important. Could you even imagine, you know, saying, "Look, I want to start a business." If you didn't have Instagram and TikTok as a medium to get the message out.
I want to start what? Sorry, I missed that one word.
No. If not for Instagram and TikTok, would you have
Yeah.
started? You know,
Oh,
because
right.
yeah, because otherwise it's TV ads and newspaper ads, which are very expensive.
Yeah, I mean, I personally definitely think I still would have. I mean, it's another challenge, isn't it? And obviously, we've seen that people have started and still are continuing with businesses that they've launched ages ago. So we know that it's not a possibility, but we're also lucky enough to be in the day and age where we have social media. So, I mean, I personally haven't spent a single cent on advertising just yet. And I don't think there will be a need to, at least in the foreseeable future, especially to reach the local market, because social media, like you said, is free and allows me to do that. So,
Okay. 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 Maybe because we are running out of time, I also want to say something that somebody commented on, and that is intellectual property law, right? I mean, you have your brand, you have IP, whether others can sort of copy your, patented or otherwise intellectual property. Have you thought about those at all?
Um, yes, I would like to say that I did hear from, like, I did see few of these copy, what do you call it? There are few, few incidents that sort of made me think that I think it's time for me to sort of consider it, because when people actually sort of, they don't exactly take inspiration, but, they 100% copy your product and they're very not sorry about it, even when you approach them. So just to avoid that unpleasantness, I have actually decided to, consider it going forward.
Yeah, you should. You should. So the last question for both of you. I guess Sashini can't do this because you are still very new. But Umanga, at least, what kind of advice would you want to give, others who are excited, like yourselves, to become entrepreneurs, either in this, sort of the fashion industry or somewhere else? And yeah, so what's the kind of advice you would want to give?
Right. Dr. Harsha, there's this one phrase that I sort of respect and follow. That's to make money, but also to make an impact. And also, entrepreneurship in the era of COVID-19 is very tough, but entrepreneurs are, we are strong, we are fighters, and we are resilient. So, whatever the challenges that come our way, we will obviously, bounce back, come up with new strategies. So don't be afraid of, COVID or whatever challenge that you are stressed about or overthinking about. If you think you have an idea, like a impactful idea that you would like to, give it to the market, do plenty of research on how it will impact the environment or a community, and less harm is always the best. So yeah, I mean, be prepared for whatever the challenges that's going to come your way, but stay strong.
Anything you want to add, Sashini?
I mean, I completely agree with everything she said. I do think it's just a lot of resilience, really, because with entrepreneurship, I think what I've realized, even for this short amount of time, is that nothing will go as planned. And you have to be okay with that. And you just have to not lose faith and just be able to bounce back with whatever comes your way. So, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So that was Sashini Jinasena from Leo the Label. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
And Umanga Kulasekara from UDAC. Is that how you pronounce
UDAC.
it? UDAC.
UDAC. Those are my initials, by the way. If anyone's confused about it.
Excellent. So I wish you all the very best. I probably tell my wife and daughter to check out the websites and see if there's anything that they might want to pick up. And
that would be great.
So my job really is to understand people like yourselves. My job is to make sure that I do what you guys need to prosper. Have a country that is at peace with itself, able to think about the future. Young people want to leave. People are looking to find opportunities in the States, in Australia, New Zealand. I have some way of getting out of here. No, that's not. I mean, yes, those are options too. But, we need to create this, my generation. My generation has to create a country that your generation would want to live and be happy. So, I need to understand what you guys think, and I'm very really that there's so much potential in the country, and guys like you are beginning to show others, your friends, colleagues, look, what did you say? Take it and run. All the very best to you.
Thank you, Dr. Harsha, for having
so
us.
much, Dr. Harsha. Thank you.
Thank you
Bye
so
bye.
much.
Hold
Bye.
on a second. Hold on a second. Now I'm going to invite. I'm going to invite. Medini. Just a minute. Get that. I got it. Hold on a second. Right. So then, Sashini and you can sort of, how do we do this? How do you
We'll just exit.
stay on? Stay on. Listen to May. This is kind of interesting story, also. I'm sure, but if you want to stay,
we'll exit and then tune in. Yeah.
And we'll listen in. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
Hi, Medini.
Hello, Dr. De Silva. How are you?
Good. Am I pronouncing your name right?
Yes, Medini Aigur.
Medini Aigur. So we are talking about, some interesting, I'm sure you heard, Sashini and Umanga, great young entrepreneurs. So today's really the reason why we decided to do it is because of the International Youth Day and about young entrepreneurs. But it's really about transforming food systems, youth innovation for human and planetary health. So somebody told me, hey, look, there's this person who has started a little plot and, made it into a 1-acre farm and got really excited about it and decided to spend a lot of time becoming a farmer. Is that what you call agriculturist?
Pretty much. Yeah.
But Medini, I tell you, agriculture is very, very difficult. It's very difficult. So many unknowns. I saw you got flooded out and all your stuff got, sort of washed away. And I saw the sad face that you put on your social media. Tell me, what's all this about? Why do you start? Are you happy? What are the obstacles? Where are you going? Tell us about it.
I guess, okay, I'll start with how we actually got onto this actually. So I moved here about 3 years ago to Sri Lanka. And my husband and I, at that point, we realized that we didn't have enough access to good organic produce. And I'm predominantly vegetarian. So for me, I require, a wide range of, vegetables and fruits in my diet. And, so that sort of got us onto this thing where we started having a conversation about starting to grow our own food. And that's how we started, honestly. It started as like as a family farm to sort of produce our own food. And over the months, we sort of got into it a lot more than we thought we would. We enjoyed it a lot more than we thought we would. And we got onto it and sort of expanded it to a point where we started having a lot of excess produce that we didn't know, and we didn't know what we could do with it, which is when we set up Us on Earth as a brand. And we mainly started that, one, to sell our excess produce, and two, to sort of share our journey online, because I used to post a lot about what we were doing at the farm on my personal social media. And I realized that there was a lot of interest with this, and a lot of people wanted to know what we do behind the scenes. And so Us on Earth was mainly started because of that, to sort of be like a blog, to sort of share our journey through this. And, over time, we sort of discovered that there's a big lack in the market for sort of initiatives like this, where there are more initiatives of sort of farm to table concepts, where farms are directly delivering food to your doorstep. A lot of them have popped up in the last few years while we also got on, but it's still not enough. It's not talked about enough. It isn't sort of supported enough. So I think that's where we are right now. We're sort of setting up a regenerative organic farm. We're trying to sort of prove that, you can make a small scale farm profitable, which we can. And that's what we're trying to do. And we're hoping that in the future, we can sort of implement this more small scale needs, considering most people are small scale farmers in Sri Lanka. And yeah, so that's where we're headed. And we're hoping to sort of reach out to more people in terms of public education as well.
Yeah. So I mean, the prices are not stable. One day you will get a good price for your produce, and the next day it might just be short completely. You may not be able to sell it at all. So how do you manage with that instability, or the sort of the volatility in pricing? Has that impacted you, or do you have a model where it's just cost plus something, or how do you manage that? Because particularly, in this country, vegetable prices fluctuate so much.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess over time, we realized that it's very difficult to sort of work within the system that's already existing in the country. Considering that this is an entirely different way of farming, we realized that we can't sort of compete with conventional farmers. We can't compete with supermarkets. We can't compete with those prices with the way we grow. And that's when we realized that if we are choosing to be different in terms of how we're producing the food, we might as well also have a different model which is independent of the current pricing system. So now we started doing weekly subscription boxes, where the people who pay a certain amount will get a weekly share of whatever we grow. It's assorted.
So whatever you grow.
Yeah, whatever we grow. They obviously, we send them a list of the varieties that we have on the farm, but whatever we harvest, they get a certain share of that harvest. So, you can't, our concept isn't about, you pick 100 grams of something, 1 kilo of something. You can't choose what you want. What we grow and what we harvest and what the farm basically gives us is what you get. So now we're trying to set up this system called the CSA system, which is basically community supported agriculture, where the consumers sort of pay upfront, either in advance for a month. Usually it's for an entire season in other countries, but in Sri Lanka, considering the weather we are in, we can sort of do a monthly subscription format, and they sort of pay upfront for the entire month, where they choose to support our farm. and we send them weekly shares of the harvest.
Now, the obstacles, so people paid you for their month's vegetables. Then the floods came, wiped out your produce. How did you manage that?
Well, okay, luckily for us, we hadn't started the subscription model as yet, and we were doing like week-to-week deliveries. But then it is, to be honest, it is obviously very disappointing because, in a farm, it's all about the time. And, if one thing washes out your entire produce, it's not just about rebuilding it. You also have to wait another 3 to 4 months before you get your next produce. And also the sort of techniques that we use, we sort of build our soil and we work with the soil a lot. So something like this sort of puts us back, about 5 months or 6 months of work. It's obviously disheartening, but the good thing about having a community supported agriculture is that you still will have your clients. You don't lose your market. Your clients are always going to be there. Your consumers are always going to be there. And that's why we need more CSAs in Sri Lanka for small scale farmers, because you need that support. And that is something that we're hoping we can sort of, push boundaries with. We really want to push for more of that to happen. We want CSA farms to become, the new norm, as opposed to,
What do you mean by that, CSA farm?
So a CSA farm is basically, CSA is community supported agriculture.
Okay, right.
Like I mentioned, where the consumers sort of pay upfront before the month begins or before the season begins. So there's a sort of sharing of responsibility. There's a sort of sharing of the burden, where, the farmer is not burdened with everything. The farmer doesn't have to deal with all the losses.
I understand. So the concept is you're a partner more than a customer almost.
Yeah, that's right. So you're not only becoming a part of the entire growing process because you know what's happening right from the start to the end. You're also sort of taking responsibility and ownership of the farm itself.
Very interesting. So you communicate with do you call them customers? I guess you do, right? Or subscription partners, whatever, right? So on social media, they know what's going on. Do they see their bananas or their not bananas? Whatever. What is it that you have? You have beans, or
we have vegetables. We also do have bananas, but yeah, of course, other than that happening, we're also very vocal about what we do at the farm. Like on our social media. So pretty much everyone who's on our social media knows what's happening, what we're growing, anything new that's happening. So there's a lot of transparency anyway. But then I think when you become a part of it, you also get to know exactly what we're harvesting each week, what we're growing and things like that.
Yeah, we're running out of time, but the pandemic, the food industry has really benefited in this pandemic. If there are some industries, pharmaceuticals, food, and information technology, right? And obviously the delivery system or the delivery model, the model that you're talking about, a partner model. How has the pandemic impacted your business? Has it been positive? Has it been negative? Has it had no impact?
Oh, no, of course, it's been definitely positive for us because one, like you said, everyone needs food to eat. And the minute, the traditional stores and everything is closed, like we sort of come into the picture. So yeah, obviously for us, it's been very positive. The other positive thing has definitely been, I think, people becoming more aware and sort of conscious. I think that consciousness has suddenly, like COVID has pushed people to think beyond what they used to think before, beyond just convenience. So that's definitely worked in our favor. I think a lot of people have also sort of subscribed onto the whole organic, regenerative sort of model. A lot of people are talking about it. So, not just in terms of what we're selling, but also sort of selling our idea has definitely become a lot easier.
Okay, my last question for you. Advice that you can give other people who perhaps are interested in becoming farmers? So everybody wants to become a farmer now. I'm telling you seriously, and with the new policy on no chemical fertilizer, so talking of organic agriculture, natural fertilizer, it is going to be difficult at a large scale. I mean, how do you apply without weedicide? How do you get rid of the weeds? And if it is a small manageable plot, perhaps it's easier rather than if it was a big plot. And even the use of organic fertilizer is possible if you're doing it in a small scale. But if you're doing it in a large scale, it does not become economical. So given all that, what's your advice for people who may be thinking, look, I can also do this?
I guess one thing is to obviously understand that whatever is happening currently, in our country or just generally in our region isn't the only solution that is in terms of growing food. There are a lot of alternative solutions that is coming up, and our farm is an alternative way of farming. So like that, there are a lot of other types of farming that has been proven to be a lot more profitable, not just now, in the long run, in the next few years. So one thing I would definitely say is research, figure out what works for you, figure out, how you can sort of make a difference as well. You don't have to follow the norm of whatever is happening. You can always sort of start something that hasn't been done. And it's very easy to do that and go that route now, considering how much information that's easily accessible to us. So that's definitely one thing. And another thing that I would definitely like to stress on is that, we can live without a lot of other things, but we can't live without food. And the sooner we understand that, the better. It's never going to run out of, scope or, like interest or any of that. Like, people need to eat. And also considering everything that's happening now in terms of the new IPCC, what they have announced, what they have said, everything, there is a lot of, there's a dire need to sort of get into the whole organic farming route. It is very, very important. So, if you're worried in terms of what the future of the profession is going to be, I would say that this is the future. And, because this is what we need. This is what we will need in the next few years. So yeah, I don't see why people would need to have a doubt. It's just, I guess, figuring out the model that works for you best, what you want to do, and figuring out how to make money out of it. And that's it.
Okay, thank you so much. That is Medini Agur from
Aigur, yes, Medini Aigur.
Aigur So where you moved to Sri Lanka? You said 3 years ago. Where did you move from?
I'm actually Indian. So I moved here from Bangalore 3 years ago. My husband is Sri Lankan, and he was born and raised here.
Okay, awesome. Okay, very good. Okay, all the best, Medini, to Asana.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much, Dr. De Silva.
Thank you.